Good day, and welcome back to another Combine History video. Today, we're rolling on with part 3 of John Deere Combines. We left off in the late 60s in part 2, talking about the Model 95 and Model 105, and today, we're going to be hopping to the 1970s, talking about the 3300, 4400, 6600, and 7700. We're going to be covering features on these machines, as well as breaking down every single year and what they updated. But before we get started, I'd like to thank Matthew Kabanuk, who sent over images and pictures, and this video would not be possible without his help. With that intro finished up, let's get into our first combine. The John Deere 105 was the biggest combine built in the world at that time, with a 50-inch cylinder and the option for a 22-foot platform, and powered by a 404 John Deere diesel. This would be the same engine that was in the famous John Deere 4020. So how'd John Deere feed off the success of the 105 to bring us the new generation of combines? For this story to start, it brings us back to the mid-1960s, where John Deere would begin development of completely restyling and redesigning their new line of combines. Being able to compete in the harvester market meant that John Deere would have to focus on efficiency while also increasing the size of the machine. Appearance-wise, John Deere would update the whole combine, except giving us that familiar square-back look. John Deere also knew they had to update their corn heads and platforms, and this is where you'd see the first quick-attach heads on a John Deere combine. By the fall of 1969, John Deere was officially ready to announce this new line of combines. The 3300 would be the smallest of this line. It'd be set up for the smaller farmer, coming in at 64 horsepower from a 202 gas or Deere's 219 diesel. It is worth noting the gas engine was more popular upon release, and it wouldn't be till the mid-70s where the diesel would start to sell well in these smaller combines. The 3300 would come with a 59 bushel grain tank as well as a manual fold auger. The 3300 would get the manual 3-speed geared transmission, unlike the 6600 that got the hydrostat that we'll be talking about later. You'd also get the option for a cab on this machine. However, AC was not available at the time. The next model in line, working our way up, is the John Deere 4400. You'd see quite a bump in horsepower, going up to 95. This would all come from a 6-cylinder 292 Chrysler or Deere's 329 diesel. One cool fact is John Deere would end up using this 329 diesel in the 4030 row crop tractor in 1973. But back to the 4400. It came with a 72 bushel grain tank, which was also quite a bump over the 3300, but still featured that manual folding auger. We'd also see some changes in the 4400's transmission. They would add an extra gear, making it a 4-speed geared transmission. This machine would also have the option for a cab. Up next, we have the most popular new generation combine, the Model 6600. The reasons that made this combine so much more popular and easy selling has to do with the power and the size. This one targets the mid-size farmer, and generally speaking, the middle size normally sells the best. So what made it an awesome combine? Well, starting things off, it had a 112 bushel grain tank, and we finally got a hydraulic operated folding auger. This would be a huge update going away from the manual auger. Being able to extend and fold the auger off hydraulics saved a lot of time and hassle. This combine would be powered by the 6-cylinder 329 diesel or the Deere 303 gas. It would come in at 104 horsepower, which was a slight jump over the 4400. We'd also get hydrostatic drive on this combine, which was a big upgrade from the geared drive. This meant you could have a more precise speed for harvesting. The 6600 would also get the option for a cab. And of these 3 combines that were sold without cabs, there's a black metal screen bolted to the top of the engine panel. With John Deere mounting the engines next to the operator on these new generation combines, this caused problems for the guys without cabs. Although it made the engine easier to service and access, it would be noisy and very hot to sit next to. Equipped with a 44-inch separator and nearly 6,500 square inches of separating area, John Deere claimed that this could outperform the 105. Now this might have been a stretch, but they put it to the test in California. They tested them with 16-foot cutting platforms. The 6600 would come out with an increase of 2.7% for more crops gathered. The reasons for this are said to be the better threshing units used on these new generation combines. The biggest combine of this new generation line was the 7700. John Deere is said to taken a lot of inspiration from the 105 to build this beast. It would come in at 128 horsepower from a 6-cylinder 404 naturally aspirated diesel, or the option for the Deere 362 gas. You'd also see the biggest grain tank coming in at 129 bushels. The 7700 wouldn't have factory grain tank extensions, but would have short flaps that were able to fold up in the front and the back. Along with the 6600, the 7700 would also get a hydraulically operated unloading auger. For the transmission, you'd also see the hydrostatic drive. You'd also see return one of my favorite features on this model, the rice crawler. The rice crawler tracks would only be offered for the 7700, and according to Deere, they'd be ideal for bottomless mud. The 7700s would all ship factory with a cab. Something cool on these new generation combines that kept the engine clean and easy to access was the panels. The bottom panel was able to fold down, creating a step and a place to stand, where the top two panels would fold up and out of your way. Just a year later, after the new generation's release, we'd see big changes in 1971. We'd finally get the sought-after air conditioning for the cabs. Along with these options, we'd see some smaller ones that included adding 2 extra lights underneath the cab, bringing the headlights up to 4. We'd also see vertical exhaust extensions that would emit exhaust above the level of the grain tank. The 3300 would also get a power increase, going from 66 horsepower to 70 horsepower. The 202 engine was replaced by a gas 219. You'd also get a new engine option on the 6600. It would be a 329 110 horsepower gas engine. And quite possibly, one of the biggest things to come out in 71 would be factory mesh grain tank extensions. This would increase the 4400 from 72 bushels to 102 bushels, and the 6600 from 112 to 147. And last but not least, the 7700 from 128 to 169 bushels. You can also see a difference between these 2 years when looking at the front of the cab. John Deere removed the air intake slots that were in the front top of the cab. Up until 1972, John Deere's best option for a hillside combine was the Model 95H. After a long run, it'd be replaced by the 6602 hillside combine. Hydrostatic drive would be standard on these hillside combines, and grain tank extensions and cabs were not available upon release. This was to prevent hydraulic failure in the leveling system. The best you could get to get out of the sun was a large canopy. This would come with the 112 bushel grain tank as found on the 6600. You'd see one new option for an engine on the 6602. This would be the 121 horse 362 gas engine, or you could still get the diesel 404. The main grain platforms used on these side hill combines was the 18-foot or the 20-foot heads. By the time 1973 would roll around, you'd see even more changes coming to the combines. The brand new 145 horse turbocharged diesel engine available for the 7700s. And it's on these you can see the turbo decal added on right before the 7700 decal. Along with that, the 7700 would also have the option for power rear-wheel drive. It was in 1973 that the option for the unloading auger light became standard. The AC system would also be enhanced, giving a 3-fan setup. This would give the cab a less bulky and a cleaner look. Deere would also move the pre-cleaners to the left side of the grain tank on the 6600s and 7700s. 1974 would come around and give us even more changes to these combines. One of the best features added was the new rotating screen. This was a drum that was made to filter and discard trash. Along with this, the engine's air path was changed. Now it was pushing air out of the engine compartment. This kept the engine a whole lot cleaner and also prolonged some service work for keeping your engine clean. You'd also see the posi torque design get added to the 7700s. This automatically and properly tensions the ground drive belts to match your load demand. By using the posi torque, you have less belt slippage. It was also in this year you'd see some gas engine options be discontinued. For the 4400, the Chrysler 292, for the 6600, the 329 gas, and the 7700, the 362. The engine access panel would also get a new design. This would update this combine to look a little bit more modern. They would also move the exhaust pipe from coming out the side to coming up right in front of the grain tank. Hydrostatic lettering would also be displayed on the upper engine access panel for the models with hydrostatic drive. By the time 1975 would roll around, we'd see even more updates to these John Deere combines, one of the biggest being a side hill version offered for the 6600. The popular selling 6600 would get this option and would be huge for Midwestern farmers on hilly terrain. The 6602 was the main hillside combine up until this point, and the 6600 hillside would receive a couple updates, making the system a little more simple. The leveling system would be run by a chain drive, and we'd also get a paddle type feeder house with a tilting faceplate. This new 6600 side hill could level up to 18%. Another big thing to come out in 75 was the new 50 series row crop heads. We'd get the 454, the 554, and the 653. These would feature new chopping blades, rubber gathering belts, floating row units, and a new cross type auger. This meant that farmers could increase speed in the field as well as have minimal crop loss. They would also go on to increase some operator comfort in the cab, going away from the triple fan system for the AC and moving it to the rear of the roof. They would also remove the front visor extension for the heating equipment on all the cabs. These have been the main changes on the John Deere new generation combines from 1970 to 1975. Let me know down in the comments if you know of any other changes they made through these years, or if you've been around and driven these. We'll be picking up where we left off in the next combine history video. We'll also be making a video covering the pull type combines, getting us up to date on those as well. But with that out of the way, guys, that's going to do it for today's combine video. I want to thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.